in the U.S. in need of an organ transplant, and we're going to tell you how you can help with their cause. So let me make the introductions today. We have Kim and Dan Rankin here, whose tragedy turned into a blessing for organ recipient Roger Radke. This is Roger in the middle, and he's surrounded by his donor family, the Rankins. And welcome to all of you.
Thank you
so much. Tell us about your son, Danny.
Well, Danny was a person that when he walked in the room stopped. He had such a large personality, and even more so, the things he did behind the scenes that we found out afterwards. He just made a difference in life.
Right, and then you lost Danny and had that hard decision that so many families face, right?
Well, yeah. For us, though, he made it easy for us because he had already signed the back of his driver's license to be a donor, and that kind of made us just fit with Danny. And but the nice thing was it turned the tragedy into something a little bit more positive. Right. And this is the result of it, right?
The result, as well as other people, because many of his organs were donated.
Danny helped 75 people in 25 states through his organs and tissues.
Now, Roger, tell us, from Houston, by the way, visiting us, what were you going through at this time with your health?
Well, my heart disease was progressive, so over time I was getting, weaker and less able to do the things that I enjoyed. So when the time finally came, we were very excited.
And how was the news given to you that there was a heart for you?
We received a call, and then we were told there would be a several-hour wait. And then there's the excitement and some apprehension with my family nearby. So, but at the same time, we were also thinking and praying about. We knew that somewhere there was a family grieving, and for us that was important, and it led to my desire to discover who Danny was and who the Rankins were, and ultimately come together as a family.
And what was that like, Mom?
It was
when you met the man who had your son's
It was
heart?
wonderful. We knew immediately when we worked through Aurora that we wanted to meet the recipients, and they keep it very generic for months, just for the grieving process, and so we couldn't reveal names or locations. And I do recall the very first communication we had from Roger was a simple card, and it just said, "Thank you with all my heart." And we started to communicate back and forth by email, and what was so amazing about our story is how our lives are so intertwined. Our daughters are named the first and middle name exactly the same. They grew up just a suburb apart in Wisconsin. It just goes so deep.
Wow.
And so when we finally met him, we communicated about 6 months or so before we finally met, and it was, we spent about 3 hours just privately as a family, and then took Roger around and introduced him to people and places that were significant to Danny, and to be able to watch Roger's reaction and experience that, because he has the best part of our son.
That's right. And I asked you if you have felt his heart, and you said as soon as you hugged him.
The very first time when I walked in the door,
I think it leapt out.
Yeah,
I really do think
and I could feel his heart.
Dan, how have you felt getting to know Roger, and what has this meant for you?
Well, it's become very positive. When the wonderful people at St. Vincent and Aurora kind of approached us about it, we were all for it. I mean, we had talked about it, and it turned, like I said, an absolute tragedy into something a little bit more positive. And then having the relationship that we have with Roger blossom, and literally he's a part of our family, and we're a part of his. So it's been, anybody out there, the time to make the decision is before the tragedy
because, like
occurs.
you said, Danny made it easy for you by signing the back of his ID, but the back of his driver's license. How is your life now with the new heart?
Yeah, it's incredible, and Danny was a great athlete, so he kept himself in excellent shape, and I think that allowed me to go on and become healthier very quickly, and as a result, I took up competitive cycling. And I was able to share some of the events with Kim and Dan, and it has made my life so much different.
You are all a family now. I can tell
We
that.
are absolutely
And you have
a
other
family.
members of your family here in the studio.
Our
and
daughter's here, who's
Yeah.
actually moving down to Houston after college graduation and
There you go.
living right by Rogers.
There
So
you
it's,
go.
it's amazing how it all has come full circle.
So what would you say to people out there who, they're just not sure? I don't know if I'm comfortable signing. That.
Organ donation provides hope. And while the tragedy of losing somebody, and particularly a child, is devastating, it was the one thing that got us through this situation. It's hope, it's happiness to know that our son has now spread and made a difference across the country for generations. And it's such a selfless gift.
We're talking about organ donation, cornea donation, tissue, so many ways.
Correct.
That you can turn that tragedy into a blessing. So we thank you all for being here.
Thank
Safe
you.
travels back to
Thank you very
Houston.
much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for sharing your story with
Absolutely.
us.
There's the information on your screen about Aurora. Just a wonderful day. We'll answer any questions, see you through the process as well if you'd like to make those plans should the tragedy ever happen to you or someone in your family. 907-9150. Thank you.